It's here it's Tennessee, so we're gonna get the best guys here. That's just every year. Every time we're out there, it's competition. Nobody has a spot, nobody's comfortable. We're all working to get better.
We've got to raise the bar, and we've got to continue to raise the bar. I don't think any of those young men, when they signed to come to Tennessee, they signed to say they wanted to come and be a part of a 7-6 program. All right, they said they wanted to come and compete for championships, SEC championships, national championships. I know that's what I want. I know that's what Tennessee wants. I know that's what the expectation is. So we've got to continue to reassess everything that we're doing and make sure that we're continuing to move the needle in the right direction.
To you.
Yeah.
To you.
Yeah, I didn't sign any mustard bottles or golf balls. Maybe wish I had a golf ball that night, you know what I mean? But I'm only kidding. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to all the fan bases throughout the SEC and the nation, listen to me. You say be humble. You say take it in stride. You say conduct yourself in the right way. Let me tell you something. We don't give a damn how you think we should conduct ourselves. We gonna act a fool, because no, we ain't never been here. Y'all just said he got a kid that ain't never seen what Tennessee looks like to win. And if you think for 1 second, a Vol like myself is gonna sit back and be quiet when we standing at the top of the mountain, you are sadly mistaken. You hear me? I mean sadly mistaken. We were screaming from the rafters. We were screaming from the mountaintops. If you think you see something now, you just wait. You hear me? You just wait till Monday. I don't care what they say. This ain't got nothing to do with the players on the field. This ain't got nothing to do with their character. This ain't got nothing to do with representation of hyper. This ain't got nothing to do with Danny White. This got something to do with the fans. And we are gone clown. You hear me? That's it.
The team makes 2 6 win. Play 4 makes breaks, 1 must always score. If it hurts, you ain't breaks, we'll get you double it up, put on more steam. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. All obstacles, block, cut, sides, 2 games after this win in. First you again, we're here for the first May. Carry block, you never 6 minutes.
Good Monday morning and welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. It is a cold one. It is a cold morning in East Tennessee. Why does it go from 80 degrees and scorching hot to all of a sudden it's freezing? It's that time in East Tennessee where you're turning the heat on. The next day you turn the air conditioner on. Then it's snowing. It's freezing. Man, got to get woken up and get ready to roll. It's a big week. It's a big week. It's always a big week. Tennessee setting records. Man, I know the media, the narrative, everybody's talking about 9 wins, first 9-win regular season since 2007. Undefeated at home. Tennessee's got South Carolina coming up on Saturday. It's a night game. You better believe that South Carolina team's going to be ready to go. Their fans are going to be ready to go. Let's run down the chat. Let's see who's hanging out. We got Eric Kane coming on here in just a moment. Then Gabe's going to be jumping on here in about 20, 30 minutes, something like that. We'll hang out. We'll talk Tennessee football. Brad Burnett's in the house. What's up, Brad? Dropping those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. Noah James is in the house. GBO, how you doing this morning, Boogie? I'm doing good. I'm doing good, my man. I'm doing good. Ready to talk some Tennessee football. Marcus Rush is in the house. What's up, Marcus? Good to see you, buddy. Says, good morning, Vol family. Chris Welch is here. Elijah, the country star. Allen is in the house. Crystal Free is here. Says, what's up? Good morning, Crystal. JJ Banks in the house. Matt Falk is here. Come on in, guys. Smash the thumbs up. Share it out. You guys know what to do. Share that link out. Let somebody know we're live. We would greatly appreciate it. Let's go ahead and hit these super chats real quick. Ed is for UT for 10. Says the Vols need to blow out South Carolina because the committee is not going to care if they score 50 on Vanderbilt. Go Baylor Bears. Well, it depends on the narrative, right? It depends on the narrative for the week. I don't know. We might offend somebody by scoring too many points, and then it's going to hurt Tennessee. So we'll see how the College Football Playoff Committee looks at it. I expect them 100% to have Tennessee sitting at number 5 once again this week. John Hill for $10.50. I see you, John. That 50 cent puts you right at the top of the leaderboard. I'll go ahead and scroll it for you. That way you get your recognition. I know what you're doing, John. Appreciate the super chat. Score now, score often. Let's break the chicken, eggs, and score a hundo on South Carolina. Let's go Big Orange. Appreciate that super chat. Let's go ahead and get Eric on here. Let's talk some Tennessee football. Let's talk a little bit about Missouri. We'll look ahead to South Carolina. We'll see where the conversation goes. Let's get some locked on talking balls going on in here. Here we go.
You are Locked On Balls, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, Kaner. What's going on, buddy?
Morning, man. I mean, when I linked up this morning, all I could hear was Ron Slay yelling about something. I don't know what he was yelling about, but God, it woke me up for sure.
It's so funny. I love that clip. It was when going into the Georgia game, he was talking about, people getting on Tennessee fans for talking too much and that we need to be humble and respectful. And he's like, no. We're going to be screaming it from the mountaintops. So even though Tennessee lost to Georgia, I still think that clip is absolutely hilarious. And, I'll just put you on the spot right out of the gate. I feel like the fan base and people in the chat are going to turn on me and get mad because I keep saying this, but it's true. When you're creating content and you see numbers go up or down, you kind of get a gauge on where the pulse of the fan base is at. And, I rattled off the numbers at the top of the show. Everybody's saying it. First 9-win regular season since 2007. Tennessee has a chance to have their first 10-win regular season since 2001, first 11-win regular season since the 98 National Championship. This is a special year for this football team, but it kind of feels like the pulse has kind of slowed down, and I get it because of the competition.
No, I mean it has, and I mean especially when you're creating content and you're doing this every single day, and you see the numbers after last week, and they kind of dip down a little bit, and so I mean that's kind of expected after a loss, but they obviously pick back up whenever you're going into a winnable game against South Carolina, and then after the win, we'll see where the numbers are this week. But no, I mean it's an exciting year, man. It's kind of hard to believe that Tennessee has a chance to win 11 regular season games, and let's be real. I mean, Tennessee better win 11 regular season games because this South Carolina team is not good, and Vanderbilt, of course. And when you sit back and just think about what this team accomplished in year 2 for Josh Heupel, it's pretty remarkable. Even if Tennessee does not make the college football playoff, which I still think there's what is it? ESPN Power Index gives Tennessee still a 76% chance or something. So still a really, really good opportunity. It's been a phenomenal ride so far. It's been a whole lot of fun, and I just can't believe that there's only 2 weeks left in the regular season. I mean, football season flies by every single year.
Yep, yeah. It's before you know it, you're on the back end. And it's like almost when Tennessee was at 8 wins, I'm like, man, it's 2/3 the way over. Now we got 2 games left to go. But we got some more football to play after the regular season. That's the exciting thing about it. You mentioned the college football playoff. Where do you think Tennessee fits into that thing? Because I feel like some of these national media members, seems like each week they pick a new team and they want to make them the sexy one-loss team that is now all of a sudden better than Tennessee. And rewind, that first rankings that came out, why was Tennessee number 1? When you're comparing undefeated teams, well, because they have a better resume than the other teams. And now Tennessee's lost. They got behind Oregon, right? Oregon's going to be the new sexy team. They lost 37-34 to Washington. Now it's like they're latching on to USC. Well, USC's the last one-loss Pac-12 team. Let's latch on to them and we'll ride them all the way to the end. I just don't see it. I think you're going to have somebody between Ohio State and Michigan lose, and I don't think that one-loss team is going to have a better resume than Tennessee. I think they're in as long as they take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you as well. And I was going to say, I think it is going to be Southern Cal who's going to be the team that everybody's talking about on the reveal show tomorrow night. Tennessee again was week 1. It was TCU last week. Yeah, I mean, you got to fight for that underdog, right? But in terms of where Tennessee's going to be positioned, I don't see any change in the top 5 whatsoever. I mean, Ohio State dominated in a win. Michigan dominated in a win. You've got Georgia, of course, dominated in a win. TCU won. It didn't look great. Texas looked like, Texas and Quinn Ewers. Oh, man, that was a bad football game. And as Tennessee fans, the people that cover Tennessee football, we've watched some bad football over the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? That was a bad football game. But, I mean, TCU won on the road, so TCU's not going anywhere. And then I think it's going to be Tennessee there at number 5. Here's the thing, and we discussed it the other day over on VolQuest. If you're sitting in a chair for the committee, like when does your mindset change? Okay, so I always try to put myself in the committee's chair. Week 1, I think it's most deserving resume. What have you done? And obviously Tennessee had the best resume and everything was undefeated. So, I get it, pushing those type of teams in week 1. But as you go on, and maybe this is wrong, this is kind of how I view it. As you go on, I mean, the goal is to get the 4 best teams in the college football playoff, right? I mean, that's what everybody wants. And so I think Tennessee is a better football team than TCU. I think the majority of the college football fans would probably agree with that. But when does that kind of change? I think Tennessee is going to be number 5 until the loser of Michigan, Ohio State drops down. So I think Tennessee will be 5 this week. I think Tennessee will be 5 next week, and then they will move up once that Ohio State Michigan game is played.
Can you see them jumping to 3, though? I don't think the playoff committee, I don't think they want Georgia and Tennessee in that first round. I just think they're going to want to save that, get some different matchups. But what is the goal? Is the goal to get the 4 best teams? Like, if that's the goal, then let's stop pretending. Let's stop pretending that TCU is better. Now, can you say, well, they're undefeated, they deserve it? Okay, well, then that doesn't mean you're taking the 4 best teams. It means, are you taking conference champions? And that's with the same thing with the Pac-12. Are they going to say, well, you got to have a Pac-12 champion in there? So if USC has 1 loss, that's the team. They're going in over Tennessee, who didn't win their conference. Where does LSU? I'm just waiting on LSU to throw a huge wrench in all this. And I was listening to Locked On Vols this morning, and you said, no way that's going to happen. And I'm just sitting here going, just wait till it happens. That would be the most Tennessee thing ever, to be locked into a college football playoff and LSU go upset Georgia in Atlanta and jump Tennessee with 2 losses. And you have to take them. But then again, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, because I'm saying a 1-loss USC doesn't deserve it, but a 2-loss LSU does.
If LSU runs the table and beats a number 1 undefeated Georgia in the SEC championship game, you have to take LSU. And you're still taking Georgia. So Tennessee is 100% out if that happens. That's not going to happen, in my opinion. I mean, people were fighting me to the death last week saying, you think LSU is going to be a playoff team? No, I don't. But you said, yeah, I said it can happen. And if they win the SEC, it's going to happen. But they're not going to win over Georgia. But if they do, you have to take them. That was going to happen with Auburn in 2017. Auburn just couldn't finish the job. So, we'll see. But I still think it's going to – I think if TCU runs the table and finishes this thing off, they're in. Tennessee can still get in, because I think the loser of Ohio State Michigan drops. TCU's in. Georgia's in. The winner of that game is in. And then you're fighting between Tennessee, a 1-loss Pac-12 champion. And again, what do you value a little bit more? Do you value conference championships? Do you value the best football teams with the best resume? And I think at the end of the day, you got to value the best football games and the best football teams, and what will give you the best product made for TV. And I think that's going to be Tennessee. So it'll be interesting, man. All Tennessee can do is go out there and score and look convincing. And when you put your backup quarterback in there, continue to go score and tell everybody to shut up. I mean, if your backup quarterback is throwing touchdowns, who gives a crap? You are playing for a college football playoff berth. Like, who cares, right? I mean, again, the backup quarterback practices too. So this whole thing where everybody's saying, oh, Tennessee ran up the score, bad sportsmanship. Shut up. I mean, they're playing for a college football playoff here. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, you're reading right off my notes. We're going to go into that Missouri game, and that's a game that started off kind of sketchy, a little sketchy on defense. Missouri cuts it to 28-24 at one point, and then Tennessee just blows the doors off, and 66-24. They punch one in late. And what is it? Is it running it up? Is it the comments made by Eli Drinkwitz before the season? Is it style points for the college football playoff? Or is it simply what you just said? The backups practice too. If you throw Joe Milton out there, let him throw the thing around. And watching Joe Milton do that, which everybody on this channel knows I'm a Joe Milton fan. I love the kid. I think 2023 is going to be a fun football season. It's already looking fun. But what do you think it is there, punching one in late? Just football? If you don't like it, stop it.
Well, I mean, I think that you're trying to score points, right? I think you're trying to look good. I think you're trying to score points. Also it's with a backup quarterback. That last touchdown as well was with the entire second unit. So you had Dylan Sampson in there, you had Ollie Lane in there, Jackson Lampley, Parker Ball, all those guys. But I mean, I still think you're trying to leave no doubt. And I wrote about this after the Tennessee game the other night. I mean, Tennessee left no doubt. You don't want to look back in December and say, what if we did this? What if we did this? You want to say, I exhausted every single option I knew possible to try to get my team in the college football playoff. And, so they might not care about, average margin of victory, or they might not care about points scored or anything like that. But, you don't want to take that chance saying, well, since the Georgia loss, you only outscored opponents by this when it could have been this. You just say, well, I did everything I possibly could. So I think that's kind of the mindset. The Eli Drinkwitz comments, Boogie, help me here. Wasn't that made more towards like Pruitt's and Pruitt's thing? I mean, it had nothing. I mean, I understand it was Tennessee, but it really had nothing to do with Josh Heupel. So I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think Eli Drinkwitz is a clown. He's annoying. I mean, he tries so hard to be relevant, and he makes jokes at SEC Media Days, and they're not funny. And his little spat with Dan Mullen last year was embarrassing. That's kind of what I think about Eli Drinkwitz. He's a smart guy, though, and I mean, I don't think he deserves a contract extension for being a 4-win team, but I do think he's a smart guy, but I think he's super annoying. So I think more so than anything, it was just, number one, that's how you play football with Josh Heupel. Number two, you're fighting for a college football playoff spot. And number three, I mean, the opportunity presented itself. You don't want to get all the way down to the 1-yard line and not punch it in. So that's kind of how I view it.
Brad Dozier in the chat says, my YouTube is messed up. I can't hear y'all talking. Close out the app and bring it back. YouTube's doing some weird stuff because it says there's 10 people watching right now. And I just went to the YouTube studio and it's got well over 200 people watching. So I don't know what's going on. The stream
Maybe
looks
they'll
like
mess
it's
up
ghosted.
and pay me a lot more for today's episode. I don't know.
Yeah, let's hope that happens. I'm always in the favor of making money by mistake. Speaking of making money, John Hill for 10. Thank you for Super Chat. Why are so many pansies upset that Milton threw a bomb at the end? Backup quarterback throwing to a backup wide receiver. When are they supposed to do it? Only in practice. This is college football, not rec league, but hurt. What's so annoying is the people in the national media that are having a problem with it. And nobody had a problem with USC running it up. Where's the complaints about that? I don't know. I don't understand and even I can't remember who made the comment and basically said, I want to see what the college football playoff committee thinks of this and Tennessee running it up. What do you mean what they think of it? What do you want them to do? Not score? Well, I just don't get it.
Here's another thing as well. Missouri and all last like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I kept saying number 11, and I'm stupid. I'm horrible at my job. The number 13 ranked defense going into that game. You're putting up 66 points on the number 13 ranked defense in the country. That's a talking point for the playoff committee. I mean, again, if this was Vanderbilt and they, 98th ranked defense or whatever, okay, sure. This is a good defense. And Tennessee put up 66 points, scored 38 points unanswered. Held Missouri's offense to 66 yards after its first touchdown of the third quarter. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. But yes, the backups, I completely agree with John. The backups, I mean, if you go in, and I think I said this after the UT Martin game, and now maybe there was a little something there with Heupel and Jason Simpson. So, but I said this after the UT Martin game. When your backups go in and you're running your offense and you're still scoring, you have nobody to be upset with other than yourself. Those backups, they practice as they're doing the scouting. They're giving you a look every single day, and if they're going out there and operating efficiently of the offense and they found the end zone, good for them. Good for them. But I think again, this is all. I've got to make myself look so good for the eyes of the playoff committee against a very, not just a respectable defense, a good defense. And I think Tennessee accomplished that.
Chase Goins for 10. Thank you for Super Chat. Milton for Heisman. GBO. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's something different. Sometimes we get on here and we talk about the same stuff week in and week out. And I know that's what people want. People want to talk about Tennessee football. But let's talk a little bit about Joe Milton in 2023. Why not? Tennessee favored by 3 touchdowns over South Carolina. Let's just skip ahead of everything and talk about 2023. But I bring that up because of seeing those backups get an opportunity to go out there and play. And, you got Hooker and Tillman off to the NFL. Jalen Hyatt is going to have to make a decision, and it's going to involve a whole lot of cash. And you maybe can touch on that too. But when you look ahead to next year, Joe Milton going to be the starting quarterback. There's no doubt about that. Ramel Keaton, a guy that chose not to go through senior day. I think he has an opportunity to come back and put some money in his pocket next year. Brew McCoy, Dylan Sampson. This offense is going to have a lot of weapons. You're going to have to replace some guys on the line of scrimmage. You're going to have to replace some offense at tight end with Fant being gone. Jacob Warren doesn't look like he's going to come back. We'll see. How dangerous can this offense be in year 3 under Josh Heupel?
I mean, I think it has the opportunity to be a really good unit. Again, as good as this group, probably not. I mean, this group is really, really good. But you do return a lot, and you feel better about your options because some guys have grown up this year. Like, again, I'm not alone here. I know every media outlet and you and everybody else. I'm not going to speak for you, but I'll imagine you as well. I'm still just so shocked Ramel Keaton's doing what he's doing. I mean, good for
Yeah,
him.
it's awesome.
I 100%
It's great to
wrote him off.
see. Yeah.
Yeah. But you come in, you bring him back, and you feel good about your two outside options, really do, and scroll in the slot. We'll see what Jacob Bourne decides to do. I know he went through senior day and all that, and I know he's been here for a while. We'll see. There's still, I mean, for a lot of these guys, even if you go through senior day, that you still have the opportunity to come back if you want to. So we'll see what he does. But replacing an offensive tackle, replacing a guard, that's going to be an issue. Tennessee's got to do it. But you bring back skilled players. You bring back a quarterback in Joe Milton that possesses everything. It's just, what does he look like under fire for 75 snaps in a game? What decisions does he make? We saw a glimpse of that last year, and it wasn't great all the time. So I'm intrigued to see there's one thing to go in garbage time when you're winning by 50 and you're sitting back slinging it and, having fun. And again, he's going out there and making the plays. He looks good, but I want to know what he looks like under duress. And because at points in times, it wasn't great against Pittsburgh. And I guess was it Ball State, whoever they played last year, Bowling Green. Defensively, I think this team has a chance to be good. I mean, you bring back two of your linebackers and Aaron Beasley and Juwan Mitchell. You bring back a lot of your defensive line. You bring back a lot of your secondary. You lose Trayvon Flowers. But, I mean, defensively, I think this team can continue to get better and better and better. So, Tennessee, there will be a drop-off, but I don't think it'll be as big of a drop-off as I originally thought it would be earlier in this season because guys have grown up. I mean, take the linebacker position as example. Tennessee's linebacker group, are they great? No. Are they really solid and respectable? And they're pretty good if we're being honest right now. They're not a good, dropping in zone coverage and whatnot, but Aaron Beasley's turned into a pretty fine player. Juwan Mitchell has turned into a really solid football player, and Jeremy Banks is playing as consistent as we've ever seen him. A lot of times you don't hear their names mentioned a lot of this. Kind of like the offensive line. They're just making tackles. You look down the stat sheet, it's like, oh, there's Juwan Mitchell leading the team in tackles. Okay. There's Aaron Beasley making a third down stop. Okay. That's just kind of what they're doing now. So because this team has improved, Danico Slaughter, Brandon Turner is getting a whole lot of playing time. I think this defense has a chance to continue to keep getting better next year. So long-winded, I know I rambled on there, but I think Tennessee can be solid next year and won't have as big of a drop-off as I originally thought before this season started.
I'm excited. You talk about the linebackers and it's progression, right? That's what college football is supposed to look like. Progression, players getting better as the year goes on, as their career goes on. Two more guys that didn't go through senior day activities, Aaron Beasley and Juwan Mitchell. There's your starting linebackers next year. This defensive line is going to be a whole lot better, but Joe Milton's the guy. That's the question mark. How does he look 2 full years under Josh Heupel learning? We'll see what he does, but I'm excited about it. We're over the 20-minute mark, so we'll get you out of here. But just Tennessee, South Carolina briefly. Tennessee favored by 21.5. Do you expect anything out of South Carolina? Do you expect them to put up any kind of fight? 7:00 kick. It's going to be a little bit rowdy. They're beginning looking at it like a Super Bowl game. But you expect anything from Tennessee, South Carolina on Saturday?
I'm about to dive into my South Carolina prep right now as soon as we get off here, so I'll know a little bit more about the personnel. I haven't watched South Carolina play one snap of football this year. I'm going to be honest with you, not one snap. I expect it to be rowdy. I expect them to come out of the gate and, be fired up, looking to ruin Tennessee's season because, that's motivation, right? It's the whole, thing in baseball. You play 162 games in baseball, and all these teams are out, but they're playing to try to ruin the other team's season there at the last week of the season. That's kind of how I'm looking at South Carolina. They have a quarterback that throws the football to the other team so much. But again, there's a reason why everybody loves Spencer Rattler so much in terms of his potential. It's kind of like Joe Milton and the potential. He's got that potential. It's just a matter of when's it ever going to click and when's he going to play consistent. Obviously, you hope that's not this week. So we'll find out. I expect them to come out and to be fired up and ready to roll. I expect Tennessee to make some plays early on to quiet down that crowd and try to make it manageable. But I see Tennessee winning by a couple scores on the road. I don't think it's going to be that big of a challenge, but I am intrigued to see how Tennessee deals with the crowd noise. It won't be like Sanford Stadium, in my opinion, but it will be something they have to overcome. They can't have pre-snap penalties. Intrigued to see how they respond to that. But more so than anything, I just think it's going to be, once you get to the second half, Tennessee will do what it does, pull away just like it did against Missouri. Maybe you won't score 60 points, but I do see this being a comfortable win for Tennessee on the road at South Carolina. I think this will be the 4th straight win over South Carolina if I'm counting correctly. Maybe the 5th straight win. I'm not sure.
Just do it off the top of your head. That's what we do around here. Don't do research. Don't be professional. Just make stuff up. And if you're wrong, they'll let you know. We're up to 11 whole people watching live right now. I don't know what's going on with YouTube.
Woo!
It's fine. It's fine.
Thanks, Mom, Dad.
Yeah. We got our families watching. It's amazing. There's more people leaving comments than there is total people in the chat. So I don't get it. Always a pleasure to have you on, Eric. We'll catch up. I'll be on Locked On Balls on Friday. Eric's going to dive into South Carolina, so make sure you guys go over, give him a sub. Where are you at now? Forget 5,000. You blew that out of the water. What's the new goal?
Yeah, I think I'm approaching 5,200. So yeah, it's been really, really good. We had that live show 2 weeks ago, or not this Friday, but the week before that, and man, that was a whole lot of fun. I'm going to hopefully try to do that maybe this Friday, maybe again. But we got over 5,000 after doing that, and can't thank you enough for that. So approaching 5,200. And, of course, you can always listen to Locked On Balls and watch Locked On Balls every single morning. When you wake up, you can make that your second listen behind the Talkin VAWLS guys here with Boogie.
There you go. Appreciate you coming on, buddy. Everybody go give Eric a sub. Locked On Balls. We'll catch up with you later, man.
I appreciate it, man. See you.
From the man with the best hair in the business to this guy that now wears a hat because you guys made fun of his hair so much. What's up, Gabe?
Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
All 11 people watching live are doing great.
I saw that. I was like, there's no way that there's actually only 10 people watching this stream right now. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, man. They can't get their crap together.
Yeah, when you go to the YouTube homepage, the stream doesn't even show up. So I don't know if it's been ghosted, if there's issues, but if I go into my YouTube studio, it shows almost 300 people watching. So I don't know what the deal is with YouTube and their numbers, but it's all good. We roll forward. Guess what? If there were only 10 people watching live, we would still be sitting here talking Tennessee football because That's what we do. Rolly season for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Good morning, everyone. I'm a little late. Run the damn offense till the final whistle. If you can't stop 2s and 3s, they work and deserve to score as well. We agree with that. Adam Cook for 5. I want blood versus Carolina. We can't score enough. Thank you, Adam, for the super chat. Appreciate that, buddy. I was a little surprised. I knew Tennessee would be favored to win. The ESPN FPI has been heavy in Tennessee's favor all season long, but were you surprised Tennessee favored by 21.5? I mean, they're favored more against South Carolina than they were Missouri with that powerful top 15 defense.
I'm not exactly surprised. I expect it to be 21 points? Not necessarily. It's up to 21.5 now. But I'm not surprised. It's no shock considering what Tennessee did on Saturday, putting up 66 points against, I mean, again, the 13th ranked defense in the country. Whether they are actually that good, I don't know. But either way, Tennessee put 66 points up on them. So, you know, a 21-point spread doesn't seem like a whole lot when it comes to Tennessee, because when they blow somebody out, they really blow them out. So,
but numbers don't always tell the story, you know, with Missouri. And it's like, you know, the trolls and the haters and the Allen V's of the world are going to talk about where Tennessee's defense lines up. Well, of course, Tennessee's defense, statistically, numbers-wise, is always going to give up more yards, and they're always going to give up more points. And if you can't realize why, then I don't know what to tell you. It's just it is what it is. On the flip side of that, Missouri, they want to chew clock. They want to go slow and eat up the game. So, of course, statistically, their defense is going to be a little bit better numbers-wise. But, Gabe, I said it before the game. At the end of the day, it comes up to how many points do you score and how many points do you give up. And Tennessee and Missouri were both giving up around the same, I think it was around 21 points a game each. So, you know, that at the end of the day, that's what you got to look at.
Exactly. Tennessee's only allowed more than 30 points in 2 games this season. One was Alabama and one was Florida. And that took, you know, a miracle onside kick and almost Hail Mary attempt to get to that point. So, you know, I think that it really does matter. Just like if you don't allow more than 30, that's fine, but you got to score more than that, right? And Tennessee has generally had no problem doing that this season, other than in the Georgia game. So, the defense, all you need if you have an elite offense is a good defense, and Tennessee is a good defense. They're not elite. They're not Georgia's defense, but they are a good defense that can get the stops done when they need to. And that second half against Missouri, they struggled in that first half. They did. They really did. In that second half, they got it together and they played their ball and didn't give up another point. So, I don't think, again, defense, all you need is a good one. Again, Tennessee hasn't allowed more than 30 points in 2 games, other than in 2 games this season. And they've scored more than that every game other than Georgia. So, I don't think it really matters.
Let's do a little shilling, a little plugging for all 6 people watching live. We appreciate the 6 of you joining us for the morning show today. If you want to show a little bit more support, you can go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. Check out the merchandise of the Talkin VAWLS Network. We still got the business scoreboard shirt from the Alabama game, but all your old favorites are up there as well. Did some basketball yesterday, covered a miserable outing by this Tennessee basketball team against Colorado. But myself, Dauber, and Xavier went live immediately after. If you missed that, go check it out. Played some NCAA last night. Appreciate everybody that hung out for that as well. But go check out the merch. You guys know where. I love this shirt. And that's why I mentioned that we're covering the basketball team. This is such a great shirt for all you arcade junkies. NBA Jam themed, TBA Jam shirt, Talkin VAWLS edition. I love that shirt. But again, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. We appreciate all the support. I got to get the membership drive going, man. We got to get that membership drive going. If you're not a member of this channel, hit that join button down below. You get custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. You get access to fan call-in shows, all kinds of fun stuff. We would appreciate it. I had a magic number in the back of my head going into the season, and we're close. We're close, but it's going to take a big push. So if you're not a member and you want to be a member, hit that join button down below. We would greatly appreciate it. Wyatt Compton watching all the way from San Diego.
It's early out there.
Yeah, Coach Jay is up early out there too in the chat as well. You West Coast
6:30.
guys getting up early, drinking in some Talkin VAWLS. Big Orange Mountain for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Big Joe Daddy 2023. Is that you? Is that you, Toby? Are you Big Orange Mountain? Buddy of mine. I said I'm just going to call Joe Big Joe Daddy from now on. Joe Daddy. Dan Yoder for 5. Only in for a minute. Got to work. Vols by 50. I mean it, GBO. Thank you, Dan, for the super chat. Appreciate that. You start looking at the numbers for this Tennessee-South Carolina game coming up on Saturday. We'll break it down a little bit more in depth on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Tennessee scoring 47 points a game. South Carolina 28.6. South Carolina, they're not. I just don't think this is even going to be a game. And you guys know my thoughts going into the season. I was worried about Spencer Rattler, but like Eric said, man, it's so much, what Spencer Rattler are you going to get? And he's just not been very good. But let's see, they're giving up defensively. They are giving up 26 points a game. If Tennessee can score 66 on Missouri, I think Tennessee can go hang 70 on South Carolina. Why not go into their stadium for a night game when they're all excited and hang 70 on them and make a statement?
Well, here's the thing about this game. This is not a trap game. But if Tennessee doesn't come out and execute, South Carolina will be able to keep it close for a little while. I don't think that they can last with Tennessee. I don't think that South Carolina can play 4 quarters with Tennessee. But, Tennessee kind of came out in the Missouri game and was kind of sleepwalking. They were making some mistakes, and they were still up 4 points at halftime. I think that if they come out that same way against South Carolina, which I don't think they will because, Saturday was senior day. It's emotional. A lot of guys, you got to get refocused. I don't think they will. But if they do, if they come out sleepwalking a little bit, then South Carolina could potentially, depending on what Spencer Rattler you get, South Carolina could keep it close for a quarter or two. I just don't see that happening. Generally, South Carolina's success this season has been from other teams stumbling and South Carolina just walking over them. Tennessee is not going to do that. They're not going to beat themselves in this game. They are perfectly aware, what their season still holds. And this game, as important as it may be to South Carolina, because again, it's their Super Bowl. Not next week at Clemson. This is their Super Bowl. As important as this is, it's that much more important for Tennessee. That they know what's at stake here. They know they got to play as hard as they can. And yeah, I just don't think South Carolina just doesn't have the tools. I mean, they do have one at head coach, but player football skill wise, they don't have the tools. And I just don't think they can keep up. Again, it's the story of Tennessee football. If Tennessee gets ahead, whoever they're playing cannot keep up. They just can't. Period.
And that's the beauty of this football team now. And even before, man, we kept saying, is this team as good as we think it is? And the conversations early in the year were, well, Tennessee can score on anybody, and when you can score on anybody, you have a chance to beat anybody. And that, right. The Alabama game is the picture perfect scenario. I mean, Tennessee couldn't stop Alabama. I mean, that score 52-49, who cares? I don't care if they score 80, as long as Tennessee scores 81. And that's what this offense gives you, is a chance to beat anybody in the country. And when you've got that in your back pocket, when you play a team like South Carolina, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, a team like that, you don't have to show up and play your best football. And that's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing about this football team. They are back. They are back. And that's why, I keep bringing up the fan base being down, and it's for the good reasons. It's because we're not playing a Georgia or an Alabama. And people know and believe that this team is going to go take care of business on Saturday, and they can go do something else, and then they'll get fired up and ready to go. And I'm talking about the casuals. I'm talking about casual fans. I'm not talking about you diehard, psychotic 11 people that are watching this live right now. I may make a T-shirt that just says 11 people watching. But that's the thing, man. Tennessee is they're in a position where they're favored by 21 points against South Carolina. I remember sitting in Neyland Stadium when Tennessee beat a ranked South Carolina team, when Pilardi kicked the field goal with Butch Jones on the sideline looking like a freaking crying baby.
That's one of the first games I remember.
I almost got emotional over a freaking win over South Carolina. That's embarrassing. That's how low this team was.
They were ranked 11 at the time?
Yes, it was a joke, absolute joke. Let's see. Let me hit this real quick. We got Jacob Matlock becomes a member of the channel. Thank you, Jacob. Let's keep those going. Keep joining the channel. If you're not a member, become a member. We would greatly appreciate it. Eric sent me a text after he went off air. He forgot to mention today is the last day. Any of you that thinking about jumping over to On3 for coverage from VolQuest.com, now is the time. The $1 membership is going away after today. So what that means is typically a membership to VolQuest is around, I think it's $99.99, something like that for a year. And I've been a paying customer of VolQuest for, I don't know, 15 some years. They provide the best coverage when it comes to recruiting, inside information. And today's the last day. So for $1, you get a year membership. What that means is a year from now, they'll renew it for the $99.99 price tag unless you cancel. But basically you're getting a year of VolQuest free. So go over, check that out. Eric wanted me to mention that. He forgot to mention it while he was still on.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, there's a reason I say Austin Price said this, Eric Kane said that, Brent Hubbs said this, because we can be psychotic, passionate fans, and there's VolQuest is those good members of the media that provide that information for us. I want to bring this up. I had it in my notes to ask Eric because somebody tagged us in on Twitter on this question, and I guess me and Eric are the B team. So I guess you and I will be the C team together. They tagged a lot of big time media members. And then they ran out of room. Then they came below that and were like, Boogie, Bentley, and Kaner. I guess you guys can chime. I guess you guys can chime in on this if you got time. But the question was, has the SEC East finally caught up with the SEC West? And it's an interesting conversation because some people just want to take the top two teams, but as a whole, SEC East versus SEC West, I still don't know. You've got LSU and Alabama up there at the top of the West. Ole Miss is a pretty good football team too. Whereas when you look at the East, I really think I think Georgia's the best team in the SEC. Tennessee's right up there with them in the SEC East. I still think the West is probably the stronger division right now.
Is the East catching up? Yes,
100%.
If Tennessee can sustain this success and continue to be competitive on the SEC level, the SEC East is competitive again. I know Ole Miss is over there. Lane Kiffin might be about to leave them, so I don't know how much longer that's going to last. But, I mean, outside of those three in the West, it's rough over there. I mean, you're talking about Texas A&M, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Auburn. I mean, I don't know if any of those are really I don't know. I mean, South Carolina could play probably any of those and beat them. That's just sort of the level. There's like tiers in the SEC, right? It's like tier one is probably – I still think Alabama is a really good football team. I really do. I just think they've just lost a little bit of edge this season. They've lost the chip on their shoulder. It's like Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. I guess I'll put LSU, Alabama tier 1, and then like Ole Miss tier 2, or Alabama and Ole Miss tier 2, and then everybody else tier 3 and down. But I do legitimately think that the SEC East is catching up and is going to be either more competitive or as competitive as the SEC West as soon as I mean, really this year. I mean, you see it happening, but if Tennessee can sustain their success, absolutely, and I can't wait because as much as it sucks having the best team in the country in your division, potentially being in your way for an SEC championship. That's how it felt back in the day. And I was never there. That's how it felt back in the day, playing Florida every year. That was who you were beating. That was who you were playing to get to the SEC championship. And that's going to kind of be how it feels again. You got to get past Georgia first if you want to get to the SEC championship. And that brings a whole new level of competition and stakes to each season. So I think it's going to be fun. And I love seeing the SEC East be competitive. No matter how much you hate Georgia, it's so much better than seeing Alabama dominate every season. You got to admit it's so much more refreshing. So, but yeah, I do think they're catching up.
I don't believe there are good people that pull for Georgia. I think they're all terrible, ugly, disgusting human beings. I think it's just that no, there are no good Georgia fans, Eric. There are none.
There you go.
I thought it was a good time to play that. It'll be interesting to see what Billy Napier does with Florida. And it's nice to be in a position of power where we're looking down on Florida right now. But Florida's 6-4, and they play Vanderbilt on Saturday and then wrap up the season with Florida State. Billy Napier could go have an 8-win season in his first year at Florida. How does he do recruiting? But for Tennessee, it's almost like, hey, we're better than you now, and we're looking down on Florida instead of that three-headed monster in the East of Florida, right, Georgia, and Tennessee. It's all Tennessee, Georgia right now.
Florida's recruiting like madmen. I need y'all to understand. Florida is recruiting like crazy. I mean, they're I think 3 spots ahead of us currently nationally. They are recruiting like crazy. Whatever you want to say about that, they're doing really well on the recruiting trail. Getting a lot of kids from in-state, flipping guys from Miami. I mean, they're getting hot on the recruiting trail. So that's definitely something to watch. I mean, Billy Napier, love him or hate him, he's definitely recruiting over there. So Florida is going to be, assuming they don't have some sort of Dan Mullen did the same thing, assuming they don't have some sort of horrendous Dan Mullen collapse. But Dan Mullen didn't want to recruit. Billy Napier does. So we'll see what happens there. But I mean, absolutely having that Florida, Georgia, Tennessee trio in the East being competitive. I mean, again, sucks because they're in your way for the championship, but I mean, it just makes for good football and it's a big deal. So as much as I hate Florida as much as you hate Georgia, Boogie. So I want Florida to stay down. I would rather compete with Georgia every year than compete with Florida because I hate Florida.
So do you hate their fans the way that I hate Georgia fans? Do you think they're disgusting, ugly human beings?
I wouldn't go that far, but I don't want to. I don't like them.
Then you don't hate them the way that I hate them.
I hate the team. I've hated all their coaches. I don't hate their fans. I dislike their fans. Their fans. Okay, well, we can
get a little anger in your heart.
We can both agree that Florida fans aren't as obnoxious as Georgia fans. We can both agree on that.
On walking God's green earth that's obnoxious as Georgia fans. So I would agree with that.
The only thing that can compare to the obnoxiousness of Georgia fans are Tennessee fans to Georgia fans when Tennessee beats Georgia. But then it's deserved. Then it's warranted. Then it makes sense because all we hear is Georgia's obnoxiousness, and we got to give them a taste of their own medicine. But I don't know, whatever.
I'm having a blast with the chat. They hate everybody too. I'm feeling everyone full of anger. Robert Tuck, thank you for the super chat. We need an MTSU Dynasty shirt. I'm 1 of 11. Yeah, I've still got 11 people watching live right now. Appreciate all 11 of you. Actually, let's do this. Let's run down the chat. Put your number in the chat. Something tells me we got way more than 11 watching. But YouTube has broken that spine. Still smash the thumbs up. We would appreciate it. Somebody in the chat mentioned Texas and Oklahoma. What's that going to do to the SEC? That's going to be It's going to change the
Oh.
way the SEC is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are they going to go with 4 divisions and pods and all that type of stuff?
I
It'll be
believe they're
interesting to
going.
see. I think it's going to hurt some rivalries. That's what's going to happen.
It's definitely going to hurt some rivalries. I didn't even think about it until a little bit before the season. I believe the plan is that they're not going with divisions, right? I believe they're going to do a one, like a mega conference, without divisions and like rolling schedules. So like you'll have like an 8 or 9 game or like probably like a 9 game conference schedule with maybe a couple annual games, but then the rest are just rolling. You just flip through teams every year, flip through different teams in the SEC. So
I just wonder how they've not confirmed anything, right? All it's been is rumor and speculation as far as what they're going to do. But Tennessee's you have to play Alabama every year. You have to play like I've seen Alabama, Vanderbilt, Kentucky as the 3, which obviously that would be pretty nice setup for Tennessee.
right.
But then you're going to lose that Florida game. You're going to lose that Georgia game. I don't know, man. And I know things constantly change in college football. They do. The SEC has changed numerous times. But for my age, for my generation, man, I want Alabama. I want that Georgia game. I want that Florida game every single year.
I wish, as much as I would like, as much as I don't mind Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC in general, because that means that they'll play a game down here that I can go to. Tennessee will. I wish that the way that both of those teams are playing right now, the way they both look, I wish the SEC would rescind their invite, because if they're going to come into the SEC and just look like Mississippi State, we don't want them in the SEC. We want them to. The whole point of inviting them to the SEC was to have another Florida, another Tennessee, got teams that will be competitive every year for the conference, because that's good football. But the way they're playing right now, and I know it's a couple years, a year or two in the future, but the way they're playing right now, man, if they continue on this path of especially Oklahoma, I mean, my gosh, it's just not gonna end up being. It's not going to end up being worth it. Is my point. It's not going to end up being worth losing divisions and having a rolling conference schedule and losing the meaning of all those rivalries. And maybe we see new rivalries born, but man, I don't know.
Let's change gears. I don't know. I think you were already in the back listening when we were talking about 2023 and the talent that Tennessee's going to have on offense. And Jalen Hyatt is a guy that we mentioned. Obviously, he's going to have a decision to make, whether or not he decides to go to the NFL or whether he comes back for one last ride at Tennessee. Looking numbers-wise, man, he's got 58 catches, 1,116 receiving yards, and 15 receiving touchdowns. I'm going and looking at the leaders. Jalen Hyatt, to beat, right now he is 3rd for receiving yards in a single season. He's a little over 50 away from Marcus Nash. Marcus Nash had 1170, and Robert Meacham is the single season receiving yard leader at Tennessee in 2006 with 1,298 yards. Let's see. I wonder if it's got touchdown receptions. I don't see that on this list. You think Jalen Hyatt's got 2 games? I think he breaks that record.
Oh, absolutely.
13. Can he get to 1,300 against Vanderbilt? I don't.
He will. He's at 11-16 right now. He will get to 1,300 against South Carolina.
1,300 is the record. That's going to set the record. He's already got the single season touchdowns at 15.
He's going to have like 210 receiving yards and like 3 touchdowns against South Carolina. He's going to, in his home state, he's going to go out and have a big game. I really think, that may not be the case. I really think he will. If it isn't against South Carolina, absolutely, he's going to get there against Vanderbilt. Because there's no way with the numbers our offense is about to put up against both of those teams that Jalen Hyatt does not get enough production to break that record. So, but as far as him leaving, I would, as much as I'm torn because I don't want him to leave. But I do want him to go have success because he deserves it. You know what I mean? He deserves. There are some guys that it almost feels like, sometimes like, man, you don't really feel like you should leave. Like it doesn't feel like you should have the choice to leave. Jalen Hyatt deserves to have the choice to leave after the season that he's had, the success that he's had, as the work he's put in. If he thinks that it's best for him to move on to the league, then he needs to do that. I could see him going either way. I could see him saying, no, I'm not done yet. I want to go for more. I could see him coming back. But at the same time, I could 100% see him going to the NFL as well. I mean, why wouldn't you? He's solidified himself as a top 5 receiver in the country overall. I mean, obviously, probably the best deep threat in the country. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch, but I wouldn't blame him at all. I
think it's good either way. Yeah, and this was the conversation I had about Brew McCoy when he came in, whether or not he would be a one and done. And I think Brew McCoy will come back and play here at Tennessee next year. But it's just another check of the box for Josh Heupel, for Alex Golish, for Coach Pope to be able to say, hey, that was a question mark when he took over. When Burns went off to the NFL, it was, can Pope get it done? And I think he's shown that he can develop wide receivers just fine. But it gives you a selling point as a coaching staff for how many guys that they've put into the league under this coaching staff. Velus Jones and Cedric Tillman could have gone. And it is unfortunate, somebody talking about Tillman's draft stock going down. I think Cedric Tillman will still be fine, but it's unfortunate that he didn't really get to come and ball out that last year that he expected to have. But I think it's only a good thing. And if Jalen Hyatt comes back, great. We got another year of that weapon. But if he doesn't, Squirrel White is going to step up and make plays. Me and Eric were talking about it. You got Ramel Keaton coming back, Brew McCoy coming back. Tennessee's got plenty of weapons at the wide receiver position.
And the thing about Cedric is you got to understand that he has been playing as little as he has, especially, being safe against Missouri because the field was wet, because he is looking ahead. He doesn't want to hurt his draft stock, because I really personally don't think his draft stock has been hurt that much. Like, he's still the same player that he was last year and he was at the beginning of this year. Agents see that. I'm sure he has been advised by his agent to not hurt himself, because if he hurts himself, if he does more damage to that ankle, that does hurt his draft stock. Right now, he's fine. He's going to be just fine. And if he can come back in the last couple games and have a couple of really good games, that awesome. I'd love to see that. Just kind of remind guys what they're looking at. But if his draft stock falls because he hasn't played as much this year, then some team is going to get a steal in the mid to late rounds. They're going to get a steal because somebody can't look at the tape and what he did at the beginning of this year, what he did last year, and that his draft stock not just be the same as it was at the end of last year, then they're not really doing their job correctly. So yeah, we still have postseason games as well that he can. I mean, he's pretty healed up. Again, he's just being cautious, so he can still ball out before the end of the season. So, yeah, but I'm really excited for Ramel next week or next year. I think that Ramel is going to have a really big season. I think this needs to be the off season. He needs to have his Jalen Hyatt off season. I know he is a hard worker. He's worked so hard. He's been right there. He's the type of guy that Hendon has mentioned is in there at 5 a.m. on the jugs machine catching balls. When Hendon walks in, he's there. Him and Jalen. So Ramel is a hard worker. He needs to continue to put that hard work in. And Brew is back next year. And I cannot wait to see what he does next year, because we know the type of player Brew is. He's a dog. Ramel Keaton is going to have an incredible year next year. He's going to have his breakout season, because the effort he puts in, the athleticism he has that he doesn't really even get to show off sometimes. He's going to have a great year next year. I can't wait to watch that happen.
I mean, he's started to have the breakout year because he's shown us. Yep. Ramel Keaton has shown us what he can do. He's only got 22 catches, but 4 touchdowns. The big play against Florida, he just comes up, he delivers, he makes plays, and it's going to be exciting to watch. There was a comment I wanted to hit here. Where did it go? Trey says, what about a new NIL deal for Hyatt? I just don't think with an NIL deal that you, well, and here he drops a super chat. I was saving your comment, Trey, but thank you for the $2. We appreciate it. Could a new NIL deal convince Hyatt to stay? We talked about this with Cade Mays. Cade Mays kind of tested the waters with that too and said, hey, if I can get I think he wanted an NIL deal that was worth maybe a 3rd round type level. That's a lot of money. In Tennessee, yes, Spire Sports Group is killing it. Yes, we have a lot of money to play with in NIL, but You got to utilize that money for certain positions. Quarterbacks, guys that protect the quarterback, and guys that get after the quarterback. And how much value does Jalen Hyatt hold? If he goes off to the NFL, can you plug and play Squirrel White, who's already making big-time plays, and now can you just slide him into the starting role after a full year in the system? Tennessee's got some good young wide receivers. So is it worth it to spend that money on Jalen Hyatt or save it and use it on a big offensive tackle, maybe use it in the transfer portal? We'll see what this team decides to do.
Well, and another thing is, I don't know if this coaching staff necessarily wants to use NIL as a negotiating weapon for guys going off to the NFL. I don't know if that's necessarily at the heart of this coaching staff. I think the coaching staff wants guys to be able to move on to the next level. Like he didn't last season after after last season, Josh Heupel talking to Hendon Hooker, Josh Heupel didn't say, "Hey, how much money do you need to stay here instead of going?" He said, "Are you coming back?" And Hendon said, "Yes." So, I think Josh Heupel and this coaching staff and this administration want to support their players in their decisions, not necessarily they want to support the players that are playing within their program, not necessarily use NIL as a weapon to negotiate NFL leaving for the draft or not. So, they may, I don't know. I personally know, like, sort of just listening to this coaching staff, I don't necessarily think that is something that they would be able to do. So
they want what's best for the players.
Would want to do.
That's what they want. They want what's best with the players. We've seen it with the transfer portal. They want what is best for these kids, whether that means staying at Tennessee, whether that means going to the NFL, whether that means transferring to a different school. I truly believe that, and that's what you're saying there too. I think that this coaching staff truly cares about the kids. Rolly season for 5. Thank you for the super chat. It's not about how good they look, Gabe. It's about the money they bring to conference. What was that about? Texas and Oklahoma, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Papa T for 5. Thank you for super chat. Jalen Hyatt will win the Biletnikoff Award this season and should be sitting for the Heisman. Papa T dropping those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. How sweet would it be? How sweet would it be for Hendon Hooker to go to New York and lift that Heisman trophy over his head with Jalen Hyatt sitting right beside him? I don't think they'll do it. I think you could make an argument for it. I think you could argue that Jalen Hyatt deserves to be in New York, but I don't think that they will let that happen. Only a team like Alabama or Ohio State would they allow that to happen. But what do you think about Hendon's shot at a Heisman Trophy right now? And I know we've talked about Stroud's numbers. Hooker's right around the corner from 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. How many rushing touchdowns? 5 rushing touchdowns as well. 400 yards on. Man, he ain't too far away from being the leading rusher on this football team.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at numbers, then, you shouldn't be, if you're looking at numbers, you shouldn't be talking about who's going to win the Heisman, right? Like, it's not just, because it's not purely about numbers. It's about the importance that the player is to the team and their overall value to that team, right? On top of their performance. Hendon Hooker, to me, and this is a totally, like, I'm a Tennessee fan, I know. Looking at just because this is not a Heisman field just full of guys you'd be like, wow, this is going to be really hard. It's like kind of either CJ Stroud or Hendon Hooker. I know Blake Corum is kind of in that mix, but it's kind of just Hendon or CJ Stroud. Like that, though, they're the clear-cut race for the Heisman right now. In my opinion, if you look at the statistics, I mean, I don't know how far in depth the Heisman voting committee or whatever they are. I don't know how in depth they look, but so many of CJ Stroud's touchdowns and yards have come in the fourth quarter up like a certain number of points, like multiple touchdowns. You know what I mean? In garbage time, pretty much, against teams that are, 2-8, 3-7, 4-6, 1-9. You know what I mean? The garbage teams of the Big Ten, pretty much.
What do you think about this comment? Because I see people throw this out there that the Georgia game, Hendon Hooker blew it. And going into this thing, we said if Tennessee, if he's going to have a legitimate shot, Tennessee needs to go 10-2. Nobody was expecting the game that he had against Alabama. I don't think you have to go out and play flawlessly in every game. How would Stroud look if he had to play Alabama and Georgia and LSU instead of a bunch of scrubs? I don't think you can put so much value on just one game.
He had one bad game. I mean, what didn't Bryce Young have a bad game the year he won a Heisman? I might be wrong, but I thought that he also had a pretty rough game. It might not have looked as bad as the game Hendon had, but the one performance doesn't ruin it for the Heisman campaign, just like it doesn't ruin it for Tennessee's playoff hopes. I don't know. I just don't think. I can't imagine that he blew it during the Georgia game. I think that definitely hurt his race a little. But I think you look at him, and I think he's still one of the, I mean, C.J. Stroud also had a pretty terrible day against Northwestern on the same day. It didn't look as bad because Ohio State won, but against 1-7 Northwestern, you know what I mean, 21-7. So if you're going to say that, then I think that despite Ohio State winning that game, C.J. Stroud has also had some really rough moments. C.J. Stroud, whenever I've watched Ohio State, I'm looking at C.J. Stroud, and he's a great player. He's a great player. He's very talented. I enjoy watching him. But there are times when I'm like, this is the guy that's challenging Hendon, because sometimes he does stuff that I'm like, how is this guy the co-front runner for the Heisman? So, when you look at the way Hendon plays, his efficiency, he's accounted for 29 touchdowns this season, and he has 2 interceptions. 2 interceptions. That's unheard of in college football. I don't care if he is a quarterback in the system. He's running the system. He's running it. It wouldn't be able that Alex Golish was up there a couple weeks ago talking about y'all don't even understand the checks Hendon is making before the snap. The things he's doing before the snap that you're not even aware of, because you think we just go so fast and we just already have the play called and Hendon's just got to look over there and throw it. No, Hendon is out there running the game. He is running the offense. So that's something that not a lot of just a couple other quarterbacks in college football would be able to do at the moment. So to me, Hendon is the front runner for the Heisman. I truly believe that if we talk about snubs, right? Because if Hendon wins it over CJ, Ohio State fans will think CJ got snubbed. But legitimately, if Hendon does not win the Heisman, I think you'll have a lot of people, not just Tennessee fans, saying, why? Why did Hendon Hooker not win the Heisman Trophy? You look at what he's done. What has he not done that CJ has? What has he done that CJ? What has Hendon Hooker not done that CJ has done? So I personally think he's the front runner. I think he needs to win it. He will be snubbed if he doesn't, and I hope the Heisman, the voters are ready for the outrage that happened. Here is what I think. Okay,
hold on. Let me hit this super chat. Rolly season for 5. All the Hendon stats are better than Stroud's, except TD passes. All the media says he's out because of the loss to Georgia. Yet the same day, Stroud had worse numbers. And again, it goes back to it's just the different narratives that the media runs with. They run with Tennessee running up the score, but Ohio State leaves Stroud out there when games are over, so that he can continue to pad stats, which is why it goes back to what Gabe said earlier. It's the Heisman Trophy should not and is not just about stats. They are important. I mean, it's important. But anyway, go ahead, Gabe. You were going to say.
I was just going to say one last thing. I think because of the history with Heisman players in Tennessee, or with Heisman candidates in Tennessee, there is a feeling I have that if it comes down to basically a tiebreaker between CJ and Hendon, the Heisman voters, are going to give it to Hendon, because I think I'm telling you, there is going to be some sort of influence of the previous results on the voters saying, oh man, it's real close, but can we, based on what's happened in the past, can we give CJ the award over Hendon? Do we want to repeat that? Do we want to repeat what happened to Peyton? And I honestly think that if it comes down to that, they're going to say, we got to give it to Hendon. I'm just saying that may not be the case, but that's how I feel they're going to do it, simply because Peyton's snub might actually help Hendon in the way that these voters are going, oh man, look what happened last time. They're still giving us crap for that, man. They're still, look at this. Just give it to Hendon. If it's a tiebreaker, just give it to Hendon.
So what Anthony says there is the Heisman hadn't been anything since they cheated Manning. Look, the Heisman Trophy is important. It's important for Josh Heupel in the world of recruiting, and it's huge that Tennessee is going to have a shot to be in the college football playoff. It is gigantic. It's big if Jalen Hyatt goes off to the NFL after buying in. Like what a teaching point, right? And it started with Cedric Tillman. How did you go from 8 catches in 3 years to 1,000-yard receiver? Well, I put in the work. I bought in. And then you see Jalen Hyatt say the same thing. Well, I want that. So he buys in. Look what happens. So what young kid, what freshman wide receivers on this football team going, okay, so Tillman did it, Hyatt did it. Now they're making millions of dollars. All I've got to do is believe in this coaching staff, and they're going to put me in a position for success. We got 265 people watching live. YouTube got it fixed. How many people in the chat just randomly got a notification just now? Because it went from 10 to 265. So whatever was going on, they fixed. But then I saw a bunch of new names come into the chat the second that number got fixed. So shout out to YouTube for being awesome at what they do. But if you guys are just now coming in, smash the thumbs up. We would appreciate it. Do we want to talk South Carolina? I think we'll probably talk South Carolina on Wednesday. We'll get a little bit more in depth on that Wednesday.
There is something I want to mention about that game that I thought about earlier. So we're talking about the environment down in is it Columbia?
Yep.
I didn't know if I was getting mixed up with
saying Columbia.
I didn't want to get mixed up with Columbia, Missouri. I wasn't. They're talking about the environment down in Columbia. Okay. It's a night game, whatever. If you look at the comments of South Carolina's posts on Twitter,
terrified.
Their fan base is not happy. Well, they're not necessarily terrified.
Everybody I've seen says that Tennessee's going to hang 100 on them.
Well, yeah, but that's not out of fear. That's out of disdain for their football team. That's out of, Tennessee's just going to come down here and hang 200, because they are not happy with their football team. I don't think South Carolina, similar to how Tennessee fans didn't want to go to the Florida game in whenever 2018 and watch their team get destroyed because they knew it was going to happen. Same thing with, I don't think that South Carolina fans are going to want to be in that stadium on Saturday night. I think they know what's going to happen. So that's why, as a fan base, we need to flood that stadium. We need to buy the tickets. I saw somebody say they're like barely over $100 right now. I'm sure once the game gets closer, you can buy them for cheaper, But buy up those tickets, flood Columbia, make the whole stadium orange. And that's a statement. That's a statement right there. If you can make it Neyland East, that's a statement. So we need to do that. We need to spread the word on that. But yeah, I don't think the environment is going to be majorly curbed by the fact that South Carolina's fan base is not bought in right now. They just are not. There's going to be, there may not be a full stadium of orange. There may not be half a stadium of orange. There's going to be way more orange than there's supposed to be in that stadium because South Carolina just, I don't think that their fan base is bought in right now after Saturday's horrible performance. And I think they know what they're getting on Saturday, and they don't want to watch it. So
I think the big key to the game, which we talked about earlier, South Carolina can't keep up. There's no way their offense can keep up with Tennessee. But the matchup that it's going to come down to is running the football. South Carolina is absolutely horrendous at stopping the run, and this Tennessee offense fires on all cylinders when the ground game gets going. If they can get the running game going, especially if they don't have to get Hendon Hooker involved, if they can just straight run it down your throat. And I think they're going to be able to do it. South Carolina gives up almost 200 yards a game on the ground. And I think Tennessee is going to have success running the football, which opens up the pass. Hopefully Jalen Hyatt has a field day in his home state. I would love nothing more than him to get to 1,300 yards receiving against South Carolina on Saturday night. But we're going to have more coverage on that coming up Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Myself, JP Dauber, going to be breaking down the South Carolina game a little bit more in depth. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, fan call-in show. That's where you, the listeners, get a chance to come on. If you're not a member, why not? Why do you not join the channel? Hit that join button down below. As little as 99 cents a month, you get access to those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. Also, access to come on for fan call-in shows. So if you're not a member, let's change that. Go hit that join button. We would appreciate it. But that is going to wrap it up for this one. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. For Gabe, my name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.
The songs I like being always sad and all. that we call home.